Do you know what we're talking about today, Rubens?
Nope, that's unknown.
Happy Monday and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show. I'm Anthony Totri, joined as always by Professor Oates, also known by most governments around the world as Erik. We got the deli man behind the Mac making all of the magic happen. Dennis and JJB here in the chat. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Parker and Sharon in here as well. Before we get into all things Arizona State, again, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, because we are less than 1,000 subscribers away, less than 800 subscribers away.
Please.
From 50K right here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Goal: try and hit it before the Super Bowl.
Man, I mean,
like 13 days. That would be amazing. But
that'd be a lot of subscriptions.
All of us here are subscribed.
Yes, I am subscribed. I will confirm that.
That's all it takes. Just hit that subscribe button.
Free.
Again, if you haven't done it, we would really, really appreciate it. Hope everybody checked out the audio-only episode that hit the feed on Sunday. If you didn't, would highly recommend you go back, check it out. Rubens and I discussed Josh Pate's solution to the college football calendar. Let us know what you guys think. But Rubens, today we're here to talk about the unknowns, and then at the end of the show, we are going to talk about something that is very known, and that is Arizona State men's basketball and what they did in honor of Harambe.
Yeah, and of course. I mean, that's the let's just get into Love to Play presented by. Okay, we'll do that later. But I will say that we've had so many audio-only episodes that have been dropping. We're having multiple every single week. They're great, and even if you are a YouTube viewer, you should go subscribe to our audio feed so that you get those. And when we say, hey, look, there's an audio only, you can go check that out. And if you're an audio only listener, I know you got a YouTube account, even if you don't use it, just go hit that subscribe button.
Do it.
You can help us out in both ways. I have an admission to make at the beginning of the show on Monday.
A new admission.
I haven't had oatmeal in a while.
Okay.
So I don't know if Professor Oates is still fitting. I like it.
Oh, okay.
I like it.
What is your breakfast of choice lately?
I've been eating a lot of eggs. And I know that you're
Professor. Yeah, no, you
Professor
can't
Yolk.
No, that wouldn't be it. It'd be like Professor Huevo.
I like that.
It's an egg in Spanish. Come on.
I'm aware of what that means, but why would it be that?
It can't be Professor Egg.
Professor Yolk. That's what he said.
Professor
Yolk. I don't think I lift enough.
I don't think he's Professor Yolk.
I've also been eating
Professor Shell.
I've also been eating some yogurt as well. I've been having yogurt in the morning.
Yogi Bear.
Professor Gert.
Or just Gert.
I think Professor Oates is like one of my favorite nicknames that I have. But like,
if you don't eat oatmeal, then it's
hashtag earned.
Ooh, Professor Eggman. Eggman kind of. You can't have Egg Boy.
No.
Oh.
You might be Egg Boy because he can't be Deli Man and Eggman.
Why not?
Too many.
We can have too many.
Well, but you're Deli Boy.
Yeah,
I'm Deli Boy, so
no, you're Jelly Boy.
I'm Jelly Boy.
Deli Man, Jelly Boy.
I'm Egg Grandpa.
Egg Guy.
Egg Guy.
Professor Egg Guy?
Professor Egg Guy?
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
I don't like that.
Scrambly?
You know what? Let's just stick with Professor Oates. I'll go back to oatmeal.
Or the blind mouse. I mean, you got the glasses.
I do have the glasses on today. I'm feeling pretty blind mouse today.
Yeah, you look very blind mouse today.
Yeah. I mean, you're staring.
Let me say this to the camera. Okay?
Oh, my goodness. Look, we still have over a month and change until spring football begins. Next week, though, we should get some sound from some of the incoming transfers from Arizona State. So really excited for that next week. But I think it's only fitting with what 7.5, maybe 8 months.
We're getting close
until the
We're
season
almost there.
actually begins. I think there are so many people that when you have the incoming transfers and the transfer portal wave and the recruiting cycle and all of these things that transpire so early on in January, for people to just assume things, to people be like, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is what this is going to look like at this point in time. And I think as it relates to the Arizona State offseason, there have been 4, I'm not going to call them misconceptions, but I think there have been 4 points of conversation as it relates to the Sun Devil football team that almost feel like people are discussing them in certainty of like, okay, this is in 2026, get ready, this is going to happen. And I think it's fair to have this discussion of maybe talking about them more so for what they really are and what they're going to be through spring football, through the summer, and in reality, through August. I don't see any of what we're going to discuss today as it relates to these 4 unknowns for Arizona State football as having solutions. Think of them as questions that just you simply can't answer in spring, regardless of having a month of practice.
Well, and when you look at it for this team specifically with how much turnover there was, I think going into last season, it felt like, oh, like there are certainties, right?
Yeah.
We know for certain that this is going to happen. But even then, even in that season, like everything can like change. Like you can't be certain really about anything until the games are played. But I think especially now, especially with how much turnover and change. And I think for me, like, I always try to think obviously best case scenario for a lot of things, but I think last season can kind of, open your eyes because when you have 2 seasons ago, of course, you're going to think everything goes perfectly
Yeah.
in the next season. So now hopefully we can kind of explore both sides, talk about what could be the good, what could be the bad with these unknowns, but it makes it interesting at least. And I think that having a great coaching staff, having some success that you've based off of, obviously not like an awful season beforehand, still had a winning record, still went to a bowl game. So I think that we can kind of find this thing where we could talk about the multiple paths that ASU might walk down. And that makes for good conversation, which I'm glad that we're going to be able to have.
Yeah, because we never have good conversations.
No, I would say we struggle to talk most of the time.
Yeah.
We definitely didn't argue about, what was it, stars? Was that last week? Was that the last show?
Was that last week? That definitely wasn't the last show.
That was Thursday.
Thursday?
It was the last day. It was the last show for me last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Last Shane
It was
Day.
awful.
where
The last
deli
Shane
closed
Day,
up for
yeah.
the weekend.
Yeah, Shane, I wasn't in studio, but I could still see Shane's face when that conversation
Shane has a
was
couple of
happening.
these where we just go back and forth like children for a while, and then I can see it on Shane's face of there's one of 2 things that goes through his head. Either 1, he thinks it's stupid and doesn't want to talk about it anymore, or 2, he doesn't think that people listening or watching want to have this conversation anymore, that we beat it like a dead horse.
It's usually both.
Yeah, it's usually like a marriage of the two, which it was pretty clear about half hour in his face.
And we had another 20
Yeah,
after
he was
that.
upset about that.
And you said that I have a couple of those every so often. That's you guys doing that though. I'm just sitting.
No, we
here.
do it. But we just keep going.
Yeah, I know, but you were implying that it is something that I'm doing because you said you have a couple of these where you just like you hate the conversation. It's not me. I'm level. I stay at 0 all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm where I am all the time.
Quote Deli Man, I stay at 0 all the time.
Sure.
I just sometimes I hate.
You've got some tells. You got some tells when you're upset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I want you to know that I'm upset.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I'm here to tell you why stars do indeed.
Okay.
Okay.
Will
unknown.
Will says unknown. Defense and offense known. Special teams.
Well, that wraps it up. You can follow the show at PHNX Sun Devils.
Look, I do want to get into the first unknown here. And it's ironic that you have it as known, Will, talking about special teams. And I think for me, the unknown is special teams. In more specifically, special teams improvement, right? Because I think you see a new kicker, you see a new punter, you see a new long snapper. You see a full-time promotion of Jack Nudo to the special teams coordinator, and then you throw in Mike Cyphris as a new addition to work with the specialists. And in your head, heck, even in my head, I think for a period of time, it's like, okay, we put all of these in a beautiful box, put a nice little bow on it, and it's titled Special Teams is Gonna Be Better. But in reality, even through practices, even through fall camp, this is not something that you are just going to automatically have resolved and answered until probably a few weeks into the season, because how much in the offseason did we talk about Jesus Gomez is awesome? And not to say he wasn't great at times. He had some moments that it wasn't perfect, but more specifically, punting, right? It was Kenyon Floyd, not bad, right?
We felt like we were in a good place punting-wise.
Yeah, you didn't think you were going to be one of the worst teams in the country at punting, but that's exactly what you were. So again, it's one of the things of like, does Nick McLarty, the Ohio State transfer punter, have a big leg? Sure.
Is he completely accurate and consistent?
No.
That's the big question, right? Which again, it's, that's the unknown.
Yeah, and these are things that, again, like, they're relatively big topics as it relates to Arizona State going from 2025 to 2026, right? Like, how much were we moaning and groaning about how just horrendous the special teams unit was in 2025, right? Like, this is something that you are going to need game reps for. So, yeah, it looks better on paper, but just because it looks good on paper doesn't mean it's going to be legit once the season actually starts.
Yeah. Will special teams be better in 2026? To quote the great philosopher Kodak Black, I hope so. Like, I hope so. But again, how are we going to be able to really, besides, watching Nick McLarty punt in spring ball, right? And I know it's like, it's not just that, but it was also the countless penalties that this team also took, which again, how are you going to be able to figure that out except for in reps? Because guess what? This was a very low penalized team when it came to Camp T and spring ball. Like, they did not have a lot of laundry thrown out there. And Kenny even said that at the beginning of the season, like, we have refs come in and ref these practices, and he's like, I've never seen as many flags as we got in these games, right? And so,
and as somebody who was at practice, they weren't getting flagged in practice.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like they weren't getting flagged at all. And so it's, how are you going to figure this out specifically? I think the good part is that you can look at some tangible changes from a personnel perspective, from a coaching perspective as well. We wish Charlie Ragle at the absolute best, but clearly something wasn't working there, and it's not like they were magically fixed when Jack Nudo took over.
No, but they improved.
But they were better, right? And so you hope with an extended offseason, clearly a focus on it too, that it does get better. I will say though, I don't think you got anybody that you look at like as a punter, as a kicker, and you go like, oh man, that talent alone, like you didn't get like a 5-star punter.
But like those don't exist. 5-star punters don't exist.
How sick would that be though?
If you're a 5-star punter, yeah, I mean that's pretty much them saying that you're going to be selected in the first round, which is just not going to happen. But like,
you never know.
And I want to be fair here on this side too. When you say like it's not like you got like, I don't know what the standard would be for
4-star
otherworldly punter. I don't think those exist either. Like, what is there like a school that they would have come from where you would have been like, boom, that's the guy?
No, it's not
want.
Like, it's not like school. It's more like production, I guess, for like the punting.
I mean, well, punting specifically,
like McLarty, like
he was a backup at Ohio State.
On the field, right?
Yeah.
And so you just don't know.
But you take somebody at Ohio State that wasn't on the field versus the guy that was on the field at Arizona State last year.
You also might use him as a fullback too. So he's 6'7", so I mean that definitely helps. Ben Sheezy said, what does a 5-star punter look like? 70-yard average punting. If you could have a punter that could guarantee, like, has a max leg of 80, right?
A max leg of 80.
And is accurate.
Hey, a 5-star punter would have to be an athlete.
It'd be a dual sport, like a dual position.
He'd have to play corner.
Yeah.
Okay. The Travis Hunter of punters. No, but
Travis Punter.
Wow.
No, but like, let's say like, I'm sorry.
This
hypothetically,
is off rails.
Hypothetically
by the way.
here.
Here's the track. Here's Erik taking it.
Hypothetically, if you could have a punter that you could tell him where to kick it and he gets it every single time, would that player go in the first round? I think so.
No.
I think so.
If he was 100% accurate,
if you could be like pin him on the 99 or pin him on the 1, like yes,
I would take a good quarterback over a perfect punter.
He's going in the first round.
I didn't say 1-1.
He's going in the first round.
He's going in the first round.
1000%. If you can pin somebody from you're on the what?
Okay,
the -4. Yeah, I appreciate you trying the argument, but it was just never gonna happen.
Like literally pin exactly.
Oh no, I'm
you're dead serious.
Yeah, I'm stuck in my ways, but this is moot. So
yeah, I mean it's not a thing. It's not a thing. But yeah, I don't know why you took it there, but sure.
Sorry. We talked about 5-star punter.
I think, and I'm not even so much concerned about the personnel, and concerned is not the right word. I'm excited to see what McLarty looks like in competition with Kenyon Floyd because he's going to be back. I hope there's improvement there. I'm excited to see Carson Smith, the Austin Peay transfer kicker, and kind of what that looks like now with a new long snapper, with Jack Nudo being promoted to full-time the special teams coordinator. And I think I mentioned this before. Mike Cyphris is such a fascinating addition to this coaching staff as somebody who is solely going to be working with the specialists, as somebody that has such an extensive background of doing this at the next level, right? Of working in the NFL. I don't know if he played for any other team than the Chargers, but was somebody that was top 5 at his position as a punter year in, year out. And in reality, like, the Chargers had one of the best special teams units in general. So he's got experience working with a cohesive unit that just does that all together. So I think for me, it's less of the personnel and I'm more fascinated once the season begins. Okay, what does Jack Nudo do differently for a full season, right, than what you had last year with Regal? What are the differences with Mike Cyphris now working with the specialist versus somebody not, committed to improving their game throughout practices? Like, it's just something I'm super, super excited to see.
Yeah, I think that they made adequate changes and adjustments, but again, we won't know until it happens on the field. But I feel comfortable with it. I'm not worried about it, but I'm not fully confident.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And I want to just nip this in the butt early on here. Sergio just walking his mouth in the chat saying, just your daily reminder, you guys are the little brother of the states. Straight little brother talk. Sergio, only a little brother would hop in Big Bro's chat to say that they're little bro.
Attention, please.
That's literally the energy that you're giving here is newborn baby. So put the binky back in your mouth. Give mom her iPad back, and let the grown-ups have a conversation.
It's my favorite one that you've been going to the last couple of months is give mom her iPad back.
Yeah, I mean that's
wipe the crumbs off.
Yeah.
I know it might be a little sticky from like you're eating like maple syrup by just a handful.
Oh God.
Yeah. You want to hit a break?
Yeah. Screw it. Let's hit a break. Look, you already know Phoenix is one of the best sports cities in the nation, but this spring, it's about to take it to a whole nother level because for the first time in history, that's right, Rubis, for the first time in history, NASCAR and NTT IndyCar series are racing during the same weekend at where else? Phoenix Raceway, and you guys get a front row seat to all of it. Of course, nothing delivers like the intensity of race weekend. It's the kind of energy you really have to feel in person to understand. And if you want the best access in motorsports, we're talking going inside the garage, walking the track, meeting the drivers, catching the pre-race concert, and so much more. Make sure you upgrade to the Desert Diamond Casino in-field experience as it relates to the tickets. There is plenty of options, the hillside view, race weekend packages that make planning easy. Again, NASCAR and NDT IndyCar Series weekend at Phoenix Raceway, March 5th through the 8th. Secure your seats now at the link in our description.
A little behind the scenes here before this show went live. I was wearing my hat backwards. And I said,
were.
you know what? I need to flip that thing forward because I need to show off my Branded Bills hat. This is one of my many favorite Branded Bills hats. I go back and forth between which one's my favorite. Of course, I have a ton. In fact, basically all of my Branded Bills hats are Arizona State Branded Bills hats. I love this material. I love the logo, and I love the fact that they have you covered with not just style, but with performance as well. Plus, of course, we have custom hats with PHNX that you can get at our locker, and you can get your own custom PHNX hats or your own custom Branded Bills hats with your own company as well. They have partnerships with 40 universities, of course, none more important, more prominent than Arizona State University. They also partner with your Phoenix Suns, and they're a local company. You know we love to support local here out of Mesa, Arizona. So right now, head to brandedbills.com. Use code PHNX for 15% off your first order.
Sweet.
Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, I know everybody joined the chat to talk about special teams and what's, that's going to be the position of unknowns in 2026. But it's in reality, one of 4 big unknowns for Arizona State going into the 2026 season and beyond spring football. I think that's something I really want to hammer home here, is that this is not stuff that's going to be resolved once fall football begins in March. These are things that, in all of reality, you're going to have to wait until week 1, week 2, maybe week 3 to actually get some answers on that. And from a unit that many view as unimportant, not on this podcast, to a unit that I think everybody agrees is the most important, and that is quarterback. So I think this is a fascinating point to have the quarterback competition conversation, because if we're just going off the trends of what Kenny Dillingham has done in the past, Sam wasn't named the starter, I don't believe, at the end of spring ball in 2024, right? So he had to go through, you had the whole conversation once Jaden left of, okay, is Jeff Sims going to be the guy too? Like, Jeff's looking good first couple weeks of fall camp,
it was a legit
right?
conversation.
And then Sam was named the starter. You had the conversation in 2023, Bourget, Pine, Conover, Rashada was named the starter, right? So, like, these are things where you go throughout spring ball and you don't have a starter named, and they just added a bunch of quarterbacks, right? It's not just like, oh, we added Cutter Boley to what you already have.
Yeah.
It's you added Cutter Boley, you added Mikey Keene, you added Jake Fetty, on top of losing Jeff, Sam, and Christian Hunt. So this is going to be an open quarterback competition. And Erik, this is not something that I would anticipate getting resolved in a month of spring football.
I think it's a good thing. I don't think you want this resolved in a month of spring football. I think it's fascinating whichever way that it plays out. I mean, if you had to ask me to put money on it right now, I'd put money on Cutter Boley. I think if you gave Kenny and Marcus Arroyo truth serum, I think they'd say that they expect Cutter Boley to be the starting quarterback for Arizona State week 1 against Morgan State. That, like, to me, I don't know if you go and you get a guy he's not the highest profile, but he's certainly the highest profile guy that you got. I know that Jake Fetty seems like a blue chip prospect. He probably is. Very excited about his future at ASU, but going and getting a high schooler is not as known as going and getting a top 15-ish QB in the portal. Now, that being said, Cutter Boley certainly has some things that he has needed to work on, some flaws that have proven in his time at Kentucky, but he has all the tools to be the starting quarterback for this team. You know, Mikey Keene is somebody that he feels like the security blanket of the room. And maybe you start with the security blanket if you don't feel like Cutter is ready or Fetty is ready.
Yeah.
You go with Mikey, Cutter, Fetty, and Mikey. It's a good thing it's not going to be figured out, although I will say it was nice all last season. It was just like, yeah, Sam Levitt's your starting quarterback, right? And maybe if the quarterback position doesn't work out in the way that we want it to work out, you look back and say, maybe they should have made a bigger splash in the portal. But I think because of the guys that you have coaching, it's exciting to think about, like, really any of these 3 plus Cam Dyer, if you want to throw him in there as well. Whoever ends up winning that job and becomes the starting quarterback should be put in a really good position to succeed. And that's exciting.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I think when we're talking about each and every one of these quarterbacks, like, they are each going to have so much to prove in spring, in fall camp, and even early on potentially in the season, right? Like, between the 4, which it feels like it's going to be a 4-way quarterback competition. And I know not a lot of folks are talking about Cam Dyer. I think he's going to be a part of this quarterback competition as much as Jake Fetty is going to be in it, right? Especially as the only person out of those 4 names that actually was in this system a year ago. But it's going to be fascinating. I know we had this conversation last week of, like, okay, what happens if Cam Dyer gets a job? What happens if Jake Fetty gets a job? What happens if Mikey Keene gets a job and Cutter Boley doesn't get this job, right? So it's, for me, each and every one of these guys in spring is going to just be a fascinating watch, to the point of, do I think you have a starting quarterback at the end of spring? No. I would push back and say that you do want, in a perfect world, you would like to have your quarterback situation resolved in spring, if that's what it was, right? The longer you know who your QB1 is, the absolute, you'd much rather choose that. But for each and every one of these guys, like, do we get to a point at the end of spring where it's like, okay, Dyer and Fetty are out, this is strictly between Keene and Cutter? Do we get to a point where it's the end of spring and it's like, hey, Cutter hasn't looked Cutter doesn't look great.
Yeah.
Right? Is it Fetty? Is it Keen? I think that is more so the reality of what this is going to look like. Is you're going to have 4 guys at the start of spring football that are competing to be your starting quarterback for the Arizona State Sun Devils. And I think we leave spring football saying, hey, Erik, it's between Cutter Boley and Jake Fetty, or it's between Cutter Boley and Mikey Keen.
Mikey Keen. You know, for me, I think when we sit on the outside and say, oh, there's a quarterback competition we might not know, we might not know.
Yeah.
Right? I think they'll know. I think they'll have a really good idea of who it's going to be. I feel like they felt that way with Sam as well.
Yeah.
Even though both of them were taking snaps and there was like this kind of storyline of a QB competition and Sam didn't look amazing. It always felt like, okay, they knew. Like they knew they were going to roll with Sam and give him.
Sam was having, and you're talking 2024?
Yeah.
Sam was having meetings with Marcus. It was just them two having quarterback meetings. And there was no other quarterbacks involved. So it felt pretty early on of like, this is the guy that Marcus wants to be QB1.
Yeah, and again, I think when you go out and you get Cutter Boley day 1 of the transfer portal, pretty much, he's the first guy that you go out there and you get. I think there is a certain expectation with that. And so to me, it does feel like it's Cutter Boley's job to lose. And I think that if we
do you say that solely based off the fact that he was your day 1?
I think because he was day 1 of the transfer portal. I don't think you brought in anybody like Mikey Keen's a backup, at least the last year, right?
Yeah.
Played at Fresno State. Okay, but that was
beat Arizona State.
Okay, but again, come on.
It's just out there.
I also think the price tag.
Yeah, the price tag.
Yeah.
The reported
that's
price
why
tag.
the assumption comes from. That's where the assumption comes from.
And like as much as, again, we're excited about the future with Jake Fetty, like this is a team that is trying to win a Big 12 championship this upcoming year. That's not an unknown. Like that's what they want. That's what they need. That's what this program's expectation is, especially after the influx of money. Because of that, and because Kenny didn't go out there and get a top tier guy in the portal after losing the top tier guy in the portal, I think you kind of need him to work out, right? And so it feels like not all of their eggs are in that basket because they went and got a Keen. They're still bringing in Fetty. If one of those two guys is the best quarterback on the roster, then you play him.
Yeah, I mean, if Dyer's the best quarterback on the roster, you play him.
Then results always outweigh that. But I also think that Cutter has all of like these kind of raw tools and was in a really, really bad position to where if Kentucky was in a better position with not a bozo as an offensive coordinator and, actual skill position guys that could help, which Arizona State has both of those things, he might have been a top 5, top 7 guy in the portal based off of his age and his experience.
Yeah.
And so I think that they're kind of betting on him being their guy, but giving everybody else the opportunity, as they do for all positions, to go and win that job. But if Cutter Boley's not starting week 1, I won't consider it like a failure, but I will say probably a poor allocation of resources.
I just don't know if I'm ready to say that if it doesn't. Like, again, I think if it goes back to the lottery tickets, right? You get enough of them just to try and win one, right? That's what you're doing here. You buy as many as you can ultimately until you get the winning numbers. And I think for Arizona State, like if they win 10 games next year and it's Jake Fetty that leads them there, or if it's Cam Dyer or Mikey Keen that puts them there, I don't think we're going to sit, mid-December or January of 2027 saying, well, you know what was the biggest failure of the 2026 offseason?
No, I wouldn't.
I don't think that's going to be the point of conversation.
I would just say if you're spending money, let's say specifically at the quarterback position, and you have a guy who's making, let's just say roughly $2 million to take, right? And that guy's not on the field. And a guy who's making significantly less than that you're wondering, okay, well then what if we allocated those resources somewhere else if this was just going to end up being the guy anyway? Not that if they're winning games.
I think, that's what I'm saying.
They're winning games and it's not like, oh, this is the poor
It only matters if they don't reach expectations.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like whoever plays needs to be the best, and if they play well, then that's great. But if they don't, which again, I think your ceiling, and maybe with Fetty as a sophomore or a junior, that ceiling would be higher. But I think that if you just looked at the quarterback room this year and said, okay, pick all of these guys to play at the top level that they could possibly play as, you're picking Cutter Boley.
Yeah,
this
and I
year
think we did this.
Right? Like you're picking that ceiling specifically.
Yeah.
So that to me feels like, okay, if it's not him, somebody else needs to be way better than you thought, or you'd really need to win games either way, because that'd be a rough conversation to have after the money that you invested in.
Yeah, I think that's 1000% fair. So from special teams to quarterback to maybe the one position at Arizona State that always feels like a known, we're going to tell you what that is on the other side of our second break. Look, I'm going to just cut to the chase. Do you guys want a chance to win a Corvette?
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, like Erik, like myself, like pretty much everybody with a brain, well, Gila River Resorts and Casinos, they are giving you a chance to do so with their fabulous Corvette giveaway running January 16th through April 24th. So the participating locations: Wild Horse Pass, Vequiva, Lone Butte, and of course Santan Mountain. Here's how you guys can qualify. Fridays 6 p.m. through 8 p.m. they've got hourly drawings for free bonus play or a finale entry. Tuesdays and Saturdays earn 4 times the entries when you play with the card, and then Thursdays 2 p.m. through 5 p.m. hot seat finale qualifier, play with the card for your shot. This is your opportunity to win a brand spanking new Corvette. Don't miss it. Don't miss your chance to accelerate into luxury. Play, earn, and win at any of their 4 casino locations.
Look, everybody has money, but do you have a place to put your money? That's the real question, and the question is always answered with Mountain America Credit Union. Of course, they have a My Style checking account with perks just for you. I'm talking loan rate discounts, identity protection, telehealth access, restaurant deals, mobile phone protection, offers on travel and events, and guess what? More! They have more! Listen, Mount America Credit Union not only here for you and your money-wise, but they're also here to help you support Arizona State, because they support Arizona State as well. They donate $250 to University Athletics for every field goal made. They provide $20,000 in scholarships to local student athletes each year. Plus, they sponsor a shoe donation program to award brand new shoes to community members in need. They care about the community. They care, obviously, about Arizona State football. Think about where they play, and they care about you. Learn more at macu.com/ASU, insured by NCUA. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Loans on approved credit.
Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button again, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Help us get to 50,000 subscribers right here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. We talk special teams, we talk quarterback, and now it is time to talk about that pesky RB1 spot, Erik, because year over year, it's a 1,000-yard rusher. It's a 1,000-yard running back, thanks to Sean Aguano. You got Cam Scatterboog, Xavier Valladay, Rashad White, Benjamin, yada, yada, yada. The list goes on and on and on. But last year, we were told that it was going to be a 3-headed monster. And maybe we weren't told. Maybe we said it ourselves, right?
But
that's what it felt like. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, you had a 1,000-yard rusher that transferred in. You had a guy who sat out a year that was a blue chip prospect from USC. Then you had your homegrown guy that did a little bit of everything. It felt like it was supposed to be that.
And it wasn't, for a number of reasons. Kyson got injured. Kanye, who knows? And then Raleek Brown obviously had the season that he had. And so one thing I'm not going to do, and I'm telling you this now, January 26, 2026, I want everybody to hold me accountable. I am not going to go into the season, say it with me. I'm not going to go into the season.
I'm saying it with you.
We're all saying this together.
Well, I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, well, I'm not going into the season saying that this is going to be by committee.
Okay.
I'm not going into 2026 saying that this is going to be a stable of running backs, that there are going to be 3 guys who do awesome work for the Sun Devils. That may be true. There may be a number of running backs that get playing time at Arizona State, but we have seen it. We've seen it every single season.
There's a guy.
There's one dude who's just better than the rest of them. And I think when it comes to RB1, if we've learned anything from our years covering Arizona State with Kenny Dillingham, it's that in spring, we're going to see all of them. Yeah. We're going to see the Kyson rebound season. We're going to see JBJ after, I know everyone's super pumped to see him after the Sun Bowl. Everyone's excited to see Marquise Gillis and David Abbott, right? What does Grayson Rigdon look like? What does Man look like? What does Carday Mack look like? What do all these guys look like at the running back position for Arizona State?
An 8-man by committee running back?
Yeah, that's what we're going to say. Get ready for the octopus of Arizona State
how hard
running backs.
Shane's face. Talking about Shane's face, that lit up. I mean, theoretically, how hard would it be to game plan for a team that used 8 different running backs?
It'd be very hard, but you know that not all of them would be like obviously seemingly productive. So, RB1, and I'm going to temper my expectations, and I think everybody else should temper their own expectations, is we're going to go into spring ball, and all these guys are going to look great, right? Because they're playing against their own defense, and they're new, and they're, in shells, not full pads. So everyone's going to be, wow, did you see what Cardi Mack did? Could he start as a true freshman? What about David Abbott? This dude was doing this, at Villanova. Marquise Gillis, I'm super excited to see. But you're starting running back, if we've learned anything, you're not going to really know who it is until week 3.
Yeah, until you've actually...
Until you get back from London, you will not know who's the dude at running back for Arizona State.
Yeah, for me, my gut says it's going to be by committee. No, I do think, though, weirdly last year, I know there's always a guy. It felt like last year there was the second guy, right? Because who was it next to Cam? It was DeCarlos Brooks.
Yeah.
Right? And it wasn't like DeCarlos Brooks was ever in competition to be in the conversation to be running back 1 that year.
No.
But he always got carries, right?
He had a 3-touchdown game.
Right. He always had something, right? And when you don't have that secondary punch, which I don't believe Arizona State had this year, they either didn't use it in Kanye Udo, or he was injured in Kyson Brown, who had a good game and then eventually, got injured and then just really was never the same, never came back.
Yeah.
And so I do believe that this year there will not be a by committee running back room, but I would be shocked if they did not use the other running backs in the room more. And I think when you look at the specific type of the 2 running backs they added, a Marquise Gillis and a David Abbott, they're very different running backs. They're very different. And even different than Kyson, right? To where Abbott feels like more goal line, even though he's got the speed, he's a bigger dude, and goal line issues was a problem you had. We talked about maybe Kanye Udo could be the guy that you use at the goal line. They didn't.
I wanted JBJ to be that guy.
JBJ maybe could be that guy this year. Right? It feels like they have a lot of running backs for sure, but they have a lot of running backs that can kind of fill different holes. I would say the only one that I'm looking at is who's going to be the pass catching back, right? It could be Kyson. We saw Kyson do it a little bit. We don't really know what Carde can bring on a collegiate level. Abbott and Gillis feels like just, hey, we're going to be handing you the ball because that's a lot of what they did at Delaware State and at Villanova.
Yeah.
And Jason Brown Jr., we didn't see him as necessarily the most effective pass catcher.
Yeah.
Right? Or man either. He wasn't exactly.
Coaching staff loved man.
Yeah, they obviously, right? Because he got if anybody got playing time from that younger group, it was him.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm curious as to who fills that void, who ends up being the bell cow back, but I do believe there will be a little bit more love to go around than there was last season beyond Raleek.
Yeah, and again, these are questions that throwing out now, it's fun to have this conversation. I can't wait to revisit them when spring football does kick off.
Well, but last year your running back 2 was your quarterback, no matter who was playing. It was either Sam
or Jeff.
Or it was Jeff.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have that this year.
Hey, you had your 3-headed running back.
Right.
You had Raleek, Sam, and Jeff. That's just like
those
we
are
all thought.
Your 3 running backs.
It's exactly what we thought was going to happen going into the 2025 season. So the final and potentially most interesting point of the unknown conversation is the trenches, the offensive and defensive line for Arizona State, because this felt like, outside of very inconsistent, play calling potentially and just overall quarterback play with Sam and Jeff and the entire offense in 2025, the offensive line was probably the biggest point of contention from the fan base of okay, we're not good enough up front. I had people in Sam's camp tell me it's part of the reason they're not coming back. I got a message today. I got a message today saying, is it right Arizona State only signed 2 offensive linemen in the class? Again, from Sam's camp. And 2 offensive linemen if you don't count Jermaine
Mitchell, who's a pretty big.
Right, if you don't count Jermaine. So that was an issue. That was something that very clearly was a hot topic in the offseason. Part of the reason why Sam didn't come back.
You look at what LSU has done on the offense.
Jordan Seaton, welcome to town. Right? So, that's certainly something to discuss. And yet they didn't. They didn't go in the portal saying, hey, let's go add this offensive lineman, and all these big-time D linemen. It's just not something they did, right? And I think it's fair to talk about the defensive line too, considering all of the losses. So the question being then, in terms of the unknown, is like, did this offensive and defensive line take a step? Right? Because that's what it's going to need to be. You got a lot of young pieces on that offensive line. Champ Westbrooks, the Helton twins, Nakua Stewart, right? Where do they fit in with some of the new additions that you did get? Is there enough depth? Where's Jalen Clem play, if at all? And on the defensive side of the ball, again, like, these guys are all going to look great in spring, right? They're all going to probably look pretty good in fall camp. But what does it look like when they're matched up at Kyle Field against a top 10 Texas A&M team?
That will be a program-defining moment.
What does it look like at Wembley against a team in Kansas that you ultimately should manhandle? Again,
Hopefully we're not
on
saying
paper,
blimey.
right? On paper. The edge rushers, the interior of the defensive line.
Australian.
Yeah.
No, the Brits say blimey.
The Brits say blimey, huh?
For sure.
Didn't expect that sentence on today's show. But I think, again, like,
I'm sure the Aussies say it too.
everyone wants to talk quarterback. Everyone wants to talk about these skill guys. I don't know if there is going to be a bigger question mark going into the year than the offensive and defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, look, the offensive line needed to be improved for sure. They also blocked for a 1,000-yard rusher in Raleigh Brown.
Yeah.
Right. And again, the way that Raleigh got his yards was sometimes unconventional and a lot of times on his athleticism.
200 of those yards coming against some buffs, by the way. So.
I will say this, and I've said it about Jermaine Mitchell a ton. If you added a top offensive lineman in the portal cycle versus the JUCO portal cycle or whatever it was, the conversation's different, right? They had a couple of pieces, a couple of veteran pieces, one veteran piece, one piece that played a little bit, ended up starting at the end of the season for Georgia Tech. And then you got Jermaine Mitchell, who you stole from Georgia, right?
Yeah.
And the number one JUCO, literally. And you said, boop, I'll take that. And so when you bring those guys in and then you have all the other young guys who should presumably take a step with great coaching, I feel like the offensive line will be better. I feel like if the offensive line was not going to be better this year, they didn't feel like they were going to be able to fix it, they would have gotten some more mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right? Because Cutter's mobile, and Kentucky fans wish that they used him a little bit more, but he is not Sam and Jeff. Right? He will not be the guy who is second and third on your team in rushing yards per game like Sims and Levitt were, which, by the way, that's true. Jeff Sims second on the team with 536 rushing yards this year. And so with the offensive line, it is an unknown, but it is not an unknown that worries me. It's the same thing with the defensive line. The defensive line's returning CJ Fight. That's a really big deal. I think they got a couple of good pieces.
Jalen Thompson, Amarian
Winston, which are two guys that have played, Power 4 football at Baylor and in Michigan State. Then you took a couple of shots on some community college guys.
About Joshua Shanklin.
You got Joshua Shanklin, who was the number one JUCO edge a couple of years ago. So, you've got this kind of like program depth that you're banking on, and then you brought in a couple of guys too. And again, when you look at like the defensive line from last year, how many guys going into that you were like, we all like Jacob Kingaika because he flipped from U of A to ASU, but did we think he was going to be like one of the premier guys on this defensive line and getting pressure and rushing up the gut? I don't think so, right? We thought he'd be a good rotation piece. He ended up being a great rotation piece.
Yeah.
Right? So there's always these diamonds in the rough, and I feel like ASU has done a good job of mixing, but that doesn't mean that it's guaranteed. It doesn't mean that you're going to go in and say, okay, we're going to have great trenches in the offensive and the defensive line. But I do like what they did. I like the shots that they took, and I think they got a couple of I don't know if premier guys, but a couple of high.
Definitely no premier guys. We're just going to put that out there. There's not a single premier defensive lineman that they added. There are, again, some fun guys.
Yeah.
Some dudes from big schools that wore green. That's cool. Yeah. They got a dude from Baylor, big guy.
How close is Jermaine to being a premier guy to you? I know obviously that you come from a different level, and that's hard.
I come from a different level.
No, like Jermaine. Jermaine comes from a different level. Like he's playing the JUCO level. But how could you evaluate him and have him?
He's a starting offensive lineman.
Right.
He's starting offensive lineman. Probably at the most important. At the most important position along the offensive line in your left tackle.
Like that's a premier add to the offensive line.
Yeah, 1,000%. Okay. But I don't think it's like. was the offensive line good enough for us to say at one addition and you're ready to rock for 2026?
Sure. I mean, well, then they added 2 more, right? But
those are premier. Like,
sure.
Beklenko was a rotational backup at Oklahoma who played a little bit at Stanford.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he didn't like do anything ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? The other guy played at Georgia Tech, started at Georgia Tech for a little bit, but I don't think he
started the second half of the season.
Yeah, so like, again, we're not talking about guys that started every single game for every point of the last year. That's just not what you got. So that's what when I say premier, that's what I'm talking about. Somebody that played well at the position, started at the position. But again, we've talked,
and we wouldn't call Sam Levitt a premier ad in the portal when they got him.
No,
right?
and
which
I'm not saying
I'm
with
saying,
you,
like,
yeah. But you got to develop these guys,
sure,
right? Like that was part of it.
You're
Sam
banking on that internal development.
It wasn't just like Sam came from Michigan State and like he was this hidden gem that like Michigan State's coaching staff just couldn't see because they were too stupid. That wasn't it. Was he talented? Yes, but he had to grow and develop into that player.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a big year for the offensive and defensive line of the developments of the young guys that they added.
Yep.
Right? The young guys in recruiting classes, which a lot of them are gigantic, right? Along the offensive line. We have Champ Westbrooks on that graphic. Does Champ take that next step and solidify himself as a starting piece along this offensive line? And on the defensive line, this feels like exactly what we just talked about with the quarterbacks of like, hey, get a bunch of lottery tickets. You need to fill 3 spots along the defensive line because CJ Fight, he ain't going anywhere. That's your anchor along the defensive line and the interior of that defense. You're good. You got 1 interior defensive tackle. You need to fill 1 other DT spot and 2 edge spots. And the guys that you have to do it, right? You have Amarian Winston. You have Jalen Thompson. You have Joshua Shanklin. You have potentially Ramir Davis, the addition at linebacker from NAU. Maybe he opts to be an edge player. Maybe that's where they put him. Did I already mention Joshua Shanklin?
Yeah.
Michael Gardner, the Oregon guy that nobody saw because he was injured all year.
Zach Swanson.
Right? Zach Swanson, who was injured all last year. Some of the younger players that you've had that you haven't really seen along the interior of this defensive line. The Albert Smith, like Julian Hugo, right? Like it's a case of, okay, we don't have any guys that had 8 sacks last year, but we got a bunch of guys that we all kind of feel like are about the same. And who's going to take that step?
We have depth.
In theory.
In
theory,
you
have depth.
I think in theory you have depth because look at all the names that you
just
listed.
because you have a lot of people at a position doesn't mean you're deep at that position.
Sure, and I get that, but I do think that they feel comfortable with where they're at from a depth-wise thing. And like, you know, when you look at that line, you have so many different types of players too, right?
Yeah.
Like Ramir's like a speed guy. Like if he's on the line, it's just to beat somebody. Like he's not getting down in the mud. Right,
he's not a bull rusher.
No, he's not a bull rusher, right? And obviously you got CJ, who is right, who's gonna get 2 trying to block him every single time. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm very interested in those positions in camp, 100%. Or spring ball too.
The beef, all of it. Camp.
I'm just interested.
I want to see what the beef does to the Morgan State beef, which is just kind of like sliced bologna against.
Thinly sliced.
Yeah, against potential Wagyu. You don't know if it's Wagyu until you like bite
beef
into
mystery box.
Yeah, no, thank you, guys. We are going to be talking Arizona State men's basketball on the other side of this final break. Look, everybody has a New Year's resolution, and if your New Year's resolution for 2026 was to get that home makeover started, well, we've got the perfect company to help you out. Of course, Window Depot. And look, they're not just a window store anymore, okay? We're talking windows, doors, skylights, cabinets, countertops, sinks, and of course, there's more with tons of inventory in stock and ready for pickup. And if you need something custom, it's no problem with our friends over at Window Depot. Contractors love the Window Depot for their job site ready quantities, unbeatable prices, expert service, and no membership required. So if you're looking for that kitchen makeover, maybe you're trying to remodel something in the house, again, go look and check out our friends over at the Window Depot. Visit thewindowdepot.com and get started on your next project today.
Look, you can go to thewindowdepot.com, and if you ever get yourself in a serious accident or an injury, you got to get this number now, 602-783-8841. That's the number to the husband and wife law team with Mark and Alexis Breyer. Not only does their team bring hundreds of years of combined trial experience with multiple certified specialists in personal injury and wrongful death, they also care about the state. They care about Phoenix. Phoenix is their home where they've raised their 8 children and where their focus is always client results and giving back to the community. And look, let's be honest here. You don't always get promises and guarantees from your attorneys, from your law teams. Guess what? Husband and wife law team, they are going to promise you a whole lot. You can cancel your fee agreement at any time for any reason. You'll receive at least as much in your pocket as they receive in their fee, even if they reduce their fee to do so. Plus, you may talk to one of their lawyers as often as you want about anything you'd like to discuss. Probably not Arizona State football, most likely legal related, but they'll probably chop it up about sports with you too. If you've had a serious injury, call the husband and wife law team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website, the link in our show notes, and tell them that PHNX sent you.
Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review again wherever you get your podcasts. Appreciate everybody watching live, watching after the fact, and of course listening on audio as well. We've got some new content, some supporter club only, members only content that dropped last week right here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. A little Reed Harris film breakdown. Highly recommend you go check that one out. Hopefully some more members only content on the way. Also, some more Totri words on the website. Sure.
Yeah.
Graded out each position via the transfer portal for Arizona State, just factoring in additions and departures. So that is diehard only content. So if you're a PHNX diehard, you have access to that on the website. And if you don't, Erik,
What?
go to gophnx.com and click the diehard tab.
Oh, that's pretty easy.
It is very easy, Erik.
You got to get more than just, I love your words, right?
Yeah.
But you get more than that, right?
I mean, what do they get?
You tell me.
I already told you what you get. You get words.
And you get an entrance to Die Hard Discord, a discount to all of our events, a free shirt when you sign up, a Die Hard card, and honestly, just good times.
Great times.
Great times.
Great
Amazing
vibes.
times. Sorry, I don't
Vibes.
sell it. Yeah, it's great times.
Yeah,
not good
it is.
times.
Come on now. Be better. Be better. So, Rubus, before we fully transition to hoops, I'm going to give you an option. We went through 4. Special teams unknown, quarterback unknown, running back unknown, and trenches unknown.
Yeah.
If you could have one of those reveal themselves to you, the RB1 just say, I am him and my name is Marquise Gillis. Right? Or
Like
I
this,
am the
arms out
quarterback.
wide.
I am Mikey Keene. Which one would you have answered?
It's definitely the most important position. It's punter. Yeah, it's quarterback. It has to be quarterback to me. It's a good answer, right? I get a good answer. Is that what we're guaranteeing? Or I just get
No. You just get the answer. I can't promise you that it's a good answer.
Oh, yeah. I think it still has to be quarterback, right?
Still has to
you
be
need,
QB.
You need to figure out what you have at quarterback.
Deli man?
Yeah.
Quarterback. I love it. I love when Shane doesn't talk for the whole show and we're 5 minutes left and it's like, let's ask the Deli man a question. And it's, yeah.
I mean,
He's at 0.
No, you're not like I didn't expect
Yeah.
really more. It was always just kind of like I'm gonna fish and see what I get. I caught a goldfish.
well, you caught like
Half a goldfish.
a pet goldfish.
Yeah,
'Cause
not one of those big ones.
Those things are crazy.
Yeah, they're cool looking.
Yeah.
Cool looking.
Anyway,
I'm gonna go with quarterback as well. I think it's pretty obvious you would want to know who your starting quarterback is as early as possible. Not just from a team perspective, but from a fan perspective as well. I think you want to know exactly who is going to be the gunslinger for your squad. But talking hoops, because I know everybody wants to do that.
it's impressive how much people want to talk ASU basketball.
But it's all U of A fans.
Yeah.
It's all of them are like, I need to talk about ASU hoops.
And they're coming off a win.
Yeah.
Coming off
Take that.
a win over Harambe's squad. They beat Cincinnati 82-68. Mo Odom went absolutely nuclear.
He did.
Said, screw it, I'll just do it myself. And
I'll do it myself.
And they did it off of the heels of Bobby Hurley's weirdest, wackiest, most wild post-game press conference that there ever was, Erik.
Yeah. This is my Love the Play presented by our friends over at Arizona Lottery. If you're over the age of 21, play and gift today. It's that they responded well to that. That and Mo Odom falling down on the baseline and delivering a pass to Bryce Ford. That was insane. But the fact that not only did the players after the game admit to and acknowledge that Bobby was right about listening, which I think is big, but that you went out there and that you played this way, right? And Mo Odom has always been the leader of this team on and off the court, but to come out there, drop 33 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals on 10 of 17 shooting, 6 of 11 from deep, and 7 of 8 from the line. I mean, it's a damn near perfect game from a point guard in college basketball. He really did put the team on his back. Not like, nobody else stepped up, but it was a really great performance from him. Honestly, DFA was getting pretty hype as well and getting pretty excited, which, maybe Bobby said, you know what, on my way out, I'm going to make sure I hold everybody accountable, even me and my players and the fans, and say, like, this isn't okay. Right? I still don't think that you should say what he said after the last game, but
there's no thinking about it.
But if
he shouldn't have said what he said.
But if the team responds well, and then again, Cincinnati was 1 game over 500 heading into that, is not one of the better teams in the Big 12, but did pick up a big win over Iowa State earlier in conference play. So it's not the most impressive win for ASU, but it was a nice win. And it wasn't oh my God, we came back and barely beat Kansas State by 3 points. It was a 14-point victory put together by one of the best performances from Mo Odom all season, probably since that Texas game. And so it was nice. It was a little breath of fresh air.
Yeah. They won.
We'll be doing a post-game on Sunday.
We will be. We will be doing a post-game show for
so get off our asses.
The next Arizona Wildcats Arizona State matchup on Saturday. So definitely tune in for that. For me, this win, again, like, you beat a 10-10 team. They're 2-5 in conference play. They're one of the teams that, similar to ASU's, just an atrocious record in this conference. But yeah, a win is a win. And I think for this team to respond the way they did, says a lot about the guys on the team and the roster versus what this roster and team have been in years past. Again, Mo Odom is the driving force of this team. This team as a whole, offensively, defensively, move how Mo Odom moves. And I think they can take it to the next level when Masamba Diop is playing his best basketball. We know Pig Johnson from time to time what he's capable of doing. So we've had this conversation before of, like, this isn't a lack of talent. I don't think. I think this team is certainly capable of being a middle of the pack team in the conference. They haven't been that to this point in time. But getting a win against Cincinnati the way they did is big, and we do have some numbers from behind that game. But of course, Erik, the only number that matters is that final score. The Sun Devils coming out on top, 82-68. Both teams shot pretty well from the floor. ASU 47% with a slight edge over Cincinnati's 45%. This is where the game was won, though, is from three-point land. Mo Odom and company shot 46% to just 24% for the Bearcats. ASU did get out-rebounded 38-31.
Which is wild.
Yeah. And one of the few times I think that we've seen ASU get out-rebounded by this much, I think as of late. In terms of turnovers forced, ASU did force 15 to Cincinnati's 11, and then percentage of the game leading 82% for the Sun Devils, 14 for the Bearcats, and what was left was spent, knotted up.
And you know what's next? Devon Cambridge.
Mm-hmm.
You're at UCF tomorrow.
Oh, God, yeah. UCF is good.
Can't wait for Bob to complain about having to fly to Florida. There's going to be so, like, that. It's going to be, I want to put this out there now. UCF tomorrow.
Yeah.
U of A on Saturday.
Yeah.
There's going to be the complaints. There's going to be, we had to travel. We had to go all the way to South Florida. And then we had to come back home and play the #1 team in the country.
Orlando's not South Florida.
Central
Florida's in the
Florida.
South.
Central Florida. There you go.
Or
man.
UCF.
You're right.
University of Central Florida.
Back to some numbers here.
That's
the
fair.
Rebounds. It was the offensive rebounding that Cincinnati really made that difference. They only out-rebounded ASU 25-23 on the defensive boards, but 13-8 on the offensive rebounds. On the three-point shooting for ASU, 13 makes on the night, 6 of those from Mo Odom.
Yeah. He's
10
a
of them
star.
Yeah, 10 of them from your or 11 of them from your starting lineup, which, hey, Santiago Truitt hit a 3. That was something to see for sure.
What?
He doesn't really shoot threes.
Yeah, he does.
Not really.
Yes, he
Not
does.
well.
Nobody on this team shoots threes well.
Mo Odom does.
Well, yeah, a couple nights ago he did.
Santiago Truitt is shooting 15% from 3 this season.
He shoots
on
threes,
one
doesn't make
attempt on
threes.
1 attempt a game.
Yeah, he shoots a 3 a game.
Doesn't make.
He's shooting 15%
No, it's bad.
UCF
after going 1-1 last
Yeah, I'm
night.
just saying he shoots threes.
UCF is based off ESPN's matchup predictor, has an 80% chance to beat.
Hey, ASU played U of A
UCF
closer than UCF.
UCF isn't that good.
They're 15-4 and 4-3 in conference play. You're saying that I'm just throwing the record.
No,
out there.
ASU is not very good. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
UCF
they're not.
comparably is not. They're not a wagon.
No, I wouldn't ever call the Knights a wagon, but
No.
unless they were. Never mind. That's going to do it for today's episode of the PHNX Sun Devils
Unless
Show.
they were what?
Hit the like
they
button,
were
hit the
what,
subscribe
Unless
button,
they
drop
were
a
what?
5-star review wherever you get your
don't hit the stream.
podcast. You can follow the show at PHNX
Unless they were
Devils
what?
on social, which is on X, on Instagram, and on TikTok. You can follow me at Anthony_Totri. You can follow the blind mouse here at Erik Ruby. That's Erik with a K. You
Trying
can
to
follow
figure out what you said.
follow the
That's all.
Deli Man at Shane Deef.
As always.
We'll see you guys on Tuesday. In the meantime, go Devils and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.